And thank you, Mr. Chairman, and Mr. Secretary, thank you for being here. I can't imagine what it's like to get up 3 or 4 days a month and know you're going to have to come up to the Hill and get a little bit grilled. So I do admire you for the courage and the stamina that you've got. While we're talking about taxes, you had said previous that being an American is a privilege, and that wealthy Americans should pay more just for being an American. And do you still believe that?
I believe, as does the President, that there is no plausible way for us to address the many economic challenges facing the country, including our unsustainable fiscal deficits, without asking those most fortunate few to pay a modestly higher percentage of their income in taxes. I do believe that, and I think that's very important. I don't see how we make any progress on these set of things without that.
So you think that anybody that doesn't want to pay taxes or pay more taxes would be more un-American than
No, I wouldn't
somebody
say that.
that's stepping up to volunteer but doesn't pay?
No, I wouldn't say. In fact, nobody wants to pay more taxes. Nobody wants to have to ask them to pay more taxes. But the problem we face, of course, is that if we don't do that, then what are we going to do? Because we can't go borrow $1 trillion to afford those tax cuts. And if we ask somebody else to pay higher taxes to afford them, that would not be fair. So,
Well, but if you look at being governed, I guess, or living in this country, half of the people in this country don't really pay any taxes.
well, that's not really fair, because, Congressman, because as you know, it doesn't capture the taxes they pay for Social Security and Medicare. So when people say that share of Americans don't pay income tax, it's not quite true, because Social Security and Medicare are all Americans pay a portion of their income to cover the cost of those programs.
But not in regular taxes.
Well,
correct?
Every week their paychecks are deducted as a share of income, a tax to cover the cost.
But at the end of the day, they pay no income tax.
No, well, it is true that a small fraction of the poorest Americans, this Congress has decided, and there's been a bipartisan consensus on this for a long period of time.
So it's not true. So you're saying it is not true that half of the Americans do not pay income.
The only way that's true is if you say somehow the tax we charge Americans against income for Social Security and Medicare does not count as an income tax.
I'm not talking about Social Security and Medicare. I'm talking about, your federal income tax that you get and file on a 1040.
Well, I don't think we're really disagreeing. It's true Americans pay different types of tax. They pay a income tax, and they pay a tax against income for Social Security and Medicare.
That's right.
And most Americans, vast majority of Americans, pay both those taxes.
Okay. So the vast majority of them. So you disagree with the statistic that says that half Americans do not pay any income tax?
I do, because it doesn't count their Social Security and Medicare taxes.
Okay. Yeah, and I think we'll, that if you don't count those two taxes, do they pay anything?
But why would you not count them?
Because I don't want to count them right now. I mean, I'm just asking you a question. Let's just have a hypothetical question that you don't count those. Do they pay any?
Well, you can count them or not, but they pay taxes for those things, those federal programs, as a share of income. And
Okay.
They pay them every 2 weeks.
All right, let's go on to something. According to the Treasury Department, Chrysler's paid their bailout.
Well, we did take a modest loss on the Chrysler programs, and we will take a loss on the GM programs too, but the auto industry's
Well, what do you
much stronger.
consider a modest loss?
And I don't recall the actual numbers in Chrysler, and of course in GM it depends how things turn out over time, but both those companies have hired a huge amount of people back to work. They're doing very well. People are buying their cars.
Let's just talk about Chrysler. What's a modest loss that you think the eventual will be?
Well,
I'm anxious to see
done.
what you think's modest.
It's done and it's booked, and maybe this is a way to think about it. More than fully offset by the more than $20 billion in investment income we earned on the investments in banks. That'd be one way to think about it.
I don't know if I'm not asking the question right, or you just don't want to answer it, but what amount does the government going to have as a loss from Chrysler.
Well, because I don't want to get the number wrong, I'd like to give it to you in writing, but it's already a matter of public record.
Is it close to 1.3
It is
billion?
probably close to that, maybe a little bit higher.
Yeah, 1.3 billion, yeah. And
The-
that's
the
more
time-
than modest to me. I mean, I don't want to argue with you, but I do appreciate you coming, and you've got great experience doing it.
Time of the gentleman has expired. The